It's a football Saturday in the SEC. Here is the starting lineup. The man with the golden voice, sports savant, Keefer. One of Birmingham's all-time most multi-talented, iconic broadcasters, Tony Kurre. Four-time champion Paul Feinbaum show caller contributor, the legend. The illustrious First Lady of SEC football, Terry Quillian. Award-winning national sports handicapper from Las Vegas, Keefer. And now, let's talk football.
Saturday morning here on ABC 3340, my good friend Keefer, the executive director of the Birmingham Racecourse Casino. I'm Tony Kurre, Sports Radio, ESPN, the whole nine yards. We do this show every single Saturday morning. Lots to get into. We're down to our Final Four in the National Football League. I love these two games we got going this weekend. But the National Championship game this past week, what'd you think, big guy?
You know, I wasn't very excited about watching the Yankee Bowl. Now, let's face it, we are on the starting lineup in the Deep South. We're SEC-oriented. It was painful for me for the second year in a row that the SEC wasn't there. I'm tired of all the trash talking from up north on the Big Ten superior. That's another subject. We can debate that all summer. But Ohio State was the best team. You knew they were the best team. It was amazing that the committee didn't realize they were the best team because they seeded them pretty low. And Ohio State had a difficult path, unlike so many other teams, to even get to that game because they had to confront Oregon in the second round, who's another one of the best teams.
Which we thought was going to be like the de facto national championship.
Yeah.
It was nothing.
But Oregon, I think we said it all year on this show. We didn't expect Oregon to be able to beat that team as talent-laden as they were. I think, Tony, in retrospect, the loss to Michigan shocked their senses to the point where this team was galvanized, recommitted, and was just on a mission. I don't think anybody was going to beat them. And, the game got off to a good start for Notre Dame, but then Ohio State scored the next 31 points. The game was never in doubt.
No.
Even though Notre Dame came back in the same, it came down to the last possession. It was never in doubt. Ohio State finally just put it away. So I found it a little bit underwhelming, but I think the biggest thing was, why would you schedule that on Inauguration Day? Of course, I'm sure had no idea how big that was going to be, but that was just terrible scheduling.
You and I kept in touch all day. That was probably one of the finest days of television that I've ever seen. I mean, so I don't have a problem because they weren't really on top of each other. They weren't being played at the same time. They weren't at the balls. I do think it was strange that we had those games on that Thursday, Friday, or that Saturday, whatever it was, and of course the national championship
just to avoid
on Monday.
The NFL.
I think what people want to do is make this national championship game like a Super Bowl, and it was nothing but that. And so they're going to have to change some things. Certainly the four teams that had the byes all getting bounced out. You had the 5, 6, 7, 8 teams. The four teams right in the middle of the pack, not the top four, not the bottom four, made it in, which I thought was very interesting. And I do think we have to make sure that in that seeding process, we do the four best teams. Regardless of whether they're winning their conference or not, they've got to get a shot in there. Brother and sister went to Ohio State. Both of them got grads, got their degrees, so I've been hearing about it ever since. I took the high road, congratulating them. I mentioned last week I went to OLV. I went to church. It was the Thursday before the national championship game. I went down to Genuflect, and my old 59-year-old ass got a cramp. I got a Charlie horse in the back of my right leg, Genuflect.
It's a sign!
It was a sign. I was like, touchdown, Jesus. So I was like, I'm going to take them Domers. At the 8 and 8.5, feeling pretty good about it. And again, that first drive, 18 plays, 9 minutes, 34 seconds. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that happen in college football where a team has an incredibly long drive. They want to keep their offense off the field. They do everything perfectly and somehow lose by 20. Then Ohio State gets the ball, one of the first times, I think, in history where they score the first 4 times they have the ball, their touchdowns. It was 5 plays at 75 yards, 3 plays at 83 yards, 6 plays at 83 yards. It was unbelievable.
Too many weapons.
Well, $20 million will do that for you. But I will give it to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in the fact that they backdoored that bad boy. Now, you had a doink, you had an extra point block, but you had a couple of things. The next thing you know, if you turn that thing off at 31-7, you're thinking to yourself, okay, it's another dud. Next thing you know, it's an 8-point ball game going in there, and it was an opportunity, obviously, for them to backdoor that. We obviously were looking at. We had Ohio State on K4wins.com, K4wins.com. Regardless of what side you had there, it was a nail biter for sure.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Well, this weekend we got a lot going on. We got to turn the page. We've been talking college football all year, but as you mentioned, the NFL. Are you excited about these games?
I am super smoked about these games. First of all, Josh Allen, I love him. I know he's catching the point against Kansas City. It's at Kansas City. Tough place to play. I hate Kansas City. I'm tired of Patrick Mahomes. I think he's a big wuss. All he does is a crybaby. He slides everywhere he goes. He gets to the sideline and stops. He's trying to get that flag. I understand. I hate that. I'm over Kelsey. I'm over the three-peat. I'm over all that stuff. So I'm pulling for the Buffalo Bills. All they got to do is win. The other game, though, I think is just absolutely amazing, though, because what Jaden Daniels has done. That kid has had just a miraculous, unbelievable year.
Oh,
Here we go again. They caught 9.5 last week and won outright. I think the money line was like plus 1,200 or something. Here they go, catching 5.5 or 6 again against the Philadelphia Eagles. That game's going to be unbelievable. As long as they got Saquon Barkley, got to lean the Eagles' way.
And, of course, they've played twice in the last month and a half
They did.
because they're in the same division. Both those games were high-scoring. Both of them were exciting. This is a great matchup. I keep thinking back to college football, watching Jaden Daniels bring the Commanders, who only won 4 games last year, to the championship game. Brian Kelly, what the hell? He was the Heisman Trophy winner, and you lost 4 games with Jaden Daniels last year? That's unbelievable.
It really is unbelievable. That's a great point. He is having just one of those unbelievably special seasons.
What a player.
We talk a lot about this in the National Football League, and you and I do a lot of sports radio. You see this a lot from first-year quarterbacks because they haven't comprehended the entire playbook. Everything's happening so fast, and so they use their legs more than they probably want to. They react. And when
they don't think they react.
When you run, you're running like you got a mad dog on your tail.
Oh, because you
the
do.
The second year, I think, and I think the second year, that sophomore year, is where you see the numbers come down a little bit because they're actually taking in the game a little bit more. They're waiting a little more in the pocket. They get sacked more often, and they don't take off and run like a scared rabbit. We've seen that with Cam Newton. We've seen that with so many. We saw that with Johnny Manziel.
Look at Lamar Jackson after 6 or 7 years.
We saw it with Johnny Manziel. Go look at all these running quarterbacks and see what they did the first year. They had like 800 or 900 yards rushing. Then the next year, they're in the pocket. And then the third year is where they really start to get it. Things start to slow down. But I think he's got a great arm. I think he's really exciting to watch. He's one of the coolest customers I've ever seen on the sideline.
Well, if we can teach Philadelphia's mayor how to spell Eagles, we'll be in good shape. Yesterday at a big rally, she E-G-L-E-S, left the A out. Oops, that's okay. She's doing a good job in Philadelphia as crime and everything's way down. So if she concentrates on that, she doesn't need to know how to spell Eagles. This is a long-time rivalry. I grew up in Washington, D.C. as a young kid. The Eagles were one of the Redskins at the time. The Redskins, now the Commanders. They were big rivals and always have been. So this is a game. Washington and Philadelphia are really close. This is almost has a college football feel because this is going to be that kind of emotional part of the game that you don't always see in the NFL. But these are 2 exciting matchups. And also this weekend, don't forget, hoops is big time in the eye right now because right here in Alabama, you've got a monster game down at Auburn as Tennessee, formerly number 1, plays current number 1 Auburn. That is going to be an outstanding game on Saturday night. And the Crimson Tide are on a roll coming off the big wins over Kentucky and Vanderbilt again. They had a stumble, but they're back on track. They get kind of a breather this week, Tony. LSU comes in, and I don't ever remember LSU ever being the worst team in the league, but right now in basketball, the Tigers are not very good, so I think Bama rolls.
Is Auburn a basketball school now?
Auburn is a big-time basketball school.
Are they a basketball school now? If Hugh Freeze doesn't pull one out this next year, have they officially become a basketball school? At least you're something school. Maybe a lacrosse school. Maybe knitting school.
Yeah,
maybe
football is in doubt right now. And no disrespect, Auburn fans, but I am not Monday morning quarterback. I said Hugh Freeze was the wrong hire the day it happened. I stand by that. I don't think he was the right guy at the right time. And believe me, his last name might be Freeze, but he might be melting on the hot seat by the end of this year.
It's getting a little toasty for sure. This show's always hot, baby. ABC 3340. We do it again every single Saturday morning from 10:30 to 11 o'clock. Kip Keefer, Tony Kurre. The Legends coming up. We've got all kinds of special guests. Stay tuned right here to the starting lineup.
Step back into the groove and then into the Birmingham Racecourse Casino.
Check this out. It's all happening here.
The Birmingham Racecourse Casino is the local place to win.
Good times right here.
Let the Birmingham Racecourse Casino bring the good times to you. The Birmingham Racecourse Casino, where the good times roll.
Where you could be a winner too. Yeah, boy.
Cave where few men have ever stood. I'm talking about Elvis Presley. I'm talking about Ronnie Van Zant. And I'm talking about the great Keefer, baby. That's right. This is a rock star. This is a Birmingham rock star right here in the Legend Cave. We come to you every Saturday here on the starting lineup, and I'm spitting, ladies and gentlemen. I'm spitting already. I'm spitting. Let me put that hair down, brother. I'm spitting already. That's a good sign. Kip, we winding the season down. And as I think about college football, the thought that comes to my mind as this season ends is, thank God it's over. Oh. What would you say about this season? Would you agree with me? Just thank God it's over.
I'm going to go Legend enthusiasm level here. Please, I can't watch another non-SEC championship game. Somebody step up in our league, for God's sake. I can't watch the Big Ten win every year. I just am not built for that.
You know, we hate it here in the cave. I didn't even watch but 2 minutes of the national championship game.
That was
That's how much I cared about the Yankee Bowl. And I got mad at myself because I watched that. It was 7-7, and Ohio State was driving. I said, I ain't got to watch this. I know how this movie ends.
And Legend at the end, I don't need Kirk Herbstreit. I was so proud of Ryan Day in Ohio State. Man up, Kirk Herbstreit. My God.
Oh, you bought it.
There's no crying in college football.
It. You know, they bought it, Kip. Come on, this is like the L.A. Dodgers in baseball. This is like the New York Yankees in baseball. This is what college football is now. This is the L.A. Dodgers, the Ohio State Buckeyes won it. The team with the most money won it, ladies and gentlemen. That's what college football is now. What we got to do down here in the South, Kip? We got to get out on the road with some signs or something, help Alabama football or something. What we got to do down here, Kipper?
I don't know. First, our commissioner needs to start showing up. Representing the SEC, not the national. I think he's running for commissioner of the whole thing, is my opinion. You got to be more vocal, Mr. Sankey, and represent your league, because you're really kind of letting them get pushed around and be, marginalized. The SEC is the premier league in the country. I don't want to hear this Big Ten talk because Ohio State spent $20 million and bought themselves a championship.
That's right. I mean, come on, Sank. You got to get busy, dude. You're supposed to represent. You are a man out there. Do we need to replace you with Nick Saban? Because we will now. We will. You're not unreplaceable, Sankey. You're not unreplaceable, brother. I'll come down there and run it. But this SEC conference, and particularly Alabama, do I have to call the bear in heaven? And I got to get a line to bear. We got to get it back together, baby. 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row.
Michigan and Ohio State are the last two champions. I can't take it.
That's a nightmare. That is a college football nightmare. Now, Coach DeBoer, you enter into season 2, and we're not even going to talk about it. Let's move on to Nate Oates, because I love this go off up in here, ladies and gentlemen. They might have to call a psychiatrist for me. I can't take no more college football. So let's take.
Last Saturday, we stood right here and said, watch out, the Tide's going to go into Lexington and take down Big Blue. And
we said it.
Beautiful thing, wasn't it?
We called it right here last Saturday. We're telling you again today, jump Alabama, give up them points today, get that money right, take that girl out for dinner, pay all them bills, get down on Alabama today.
I'm wondering, is Brian Kelly coaching basketball too? I'm going to look closely on the bench there.
I don't know, Brian Kelly, let's not even talk about Brian Kelly.
He had Jaden Daniels, Legend, and lost 4 games last
How do
year.
you do that?
I don't know.
Jaden Daniels in the NFC Championship game in his rookie season, and Brian Kelly can't even get to a playoff game with him. So, Unbelievable. Back to Alabama basketball. Nate Oates doing a great job down there. We grew up in in the time where we was lucky to see Alabama on the bubble. Now a team that's chasing a #1 seed in college basketball year in and year out. Would you say that Nate Oates is the greatest Alabama coach ever?
I think it's pretty obvious he is. Maybe you go back to Wim Sanderson, you'll have some sentiment for him.
CM Newton.
Yeah, there's been some good ones.
Been some good ones.
But nobody has quickly built this program like we're seeing now, and the sky's the limit. I went to the Final Four last year. I saw them really make a big effort against UConn, and this team with Sears back, this team can go all the way.
Sears, Grant Nelson. Hey, we got to get out of here. My main man down telling me to wrap it up. Remember, it's just a game. Don't be like Kipper and the legend. Sports Insane.
A guy you've seen on this starting lineup about every other week, Kai Gregory, a guy I get to work with every single week on K4Wins, K4Wins.com. It's a great site. Free site. Go there and get all your plays. We had 67% this last year. We're even above that this year. You can go back and look at all of our plays. Everything's documented.
Tony and I went 9-1 the last 24 hours.
We are on fire, and Kai Gregory doing a fine job. SBS, Southern Precision Staffing, 205-682-2828 for all your staffing needs. Right here in Birmingham, they serve the United States of America, 205-682-2828. Also, Stuart Rome was supposed to be on the show today, but he got 10 inches of snow in his backyard in New Orleans, so he couldn't make it. But if you want a great massage, go to birmingham.woodhousespas.com, birmingham.woodhousespas.com. They do fantastic work. And, of course, our good friend Teresa Autry, who's now with Keller Williams. She's got some very exciting things. 2025. She's looked into her real estate crystal ball and has told me that 2025 is going to be a very special year where maybe Kip Keefer is going to be living in something that Hugh Hefner would live in. And Tony Curry's going to live in the basement right at
I'm going to have to upgrade my road collection.
Exactly.
Tony can live in my basement.
294-4210, 294-4210 for Teresa Autry, Keller Williams.
This is the final weekend. Our sister shows on Radio Jocks 94.5. We wrap up the seasons on Saturday on Game Time 8 to 10. Featuring the legend every week, and he's been a tremendous contributor to that show, coming on with the best Alabama analysis imaginable. And then on Sunday morning, 9 to 11, we wrap up season number 8 of The Morning After. It has been fabulous. The response we've gotten from all of you all season, the phone lines have been jammed. We've had all kinds of great callers, great contributors. We are also talking to JOX about doing some weeknight stuff after the Paul Feinbaum show on weeknights. So stay tuned for that. We'll keep you posted on any other radio situations. But for right now, the Saturday and Sunday staples on our schedule, we're winding it down, and you don't want to miss these concluding shows because we are going to bring a lot of strong takes and a lot of great stuff about the college football playoff, about what the SEC needs to do, and more specifically, Kalen DeBoer and Hugh Freeze both now have big challenges going to the 2025 season. We will set the stage for all of that this weekend. Don't miss it.
And don't forget, too, Kip Keefer and Kurre, and Need to Know.
Absolutely,
your own show.
on
It's
TKR.
a show that goes every single week on TKR. Get that TKR app. It's a fantastic. Need to Know is one of my favorite shows on there. It runs as long as you want to talk. Talk a lot of politics. He did a show on inauguration this past week, which was one of the best shows he's ever done. And, of course, we did the Keefer Kurre thing where we continued. So, yeah, you can find this man everywhere. He does great work.
Hey, it's Case Keefer. I'm the assistant sports editor at Greenspun Media Group, which includes Las Vegas Sun and Las Vegas Weekly, longtime sports bettor and sports betting writer. Here again for another edition of the Vegas Heaters. I threw a whole lot of bets out last week, and maybe someone tracked it better than me. I didn't write it down the best, but I think we ended up going 4-5. Lost a little bit, a little disappointing. Still up on the football year. If you go back to the beginning of the year in this segment, 39-36, 69-58 with everything I've given out on the show. So not great. We'll reset the records at the end of football season, but still up, and especially if you've cashed some of the futures I've given up, you're way up from last year. I know football was not my best futures this year, actually, but did have Travis Hunter on my Heisman card, so that was a big one. You go back to other sports, it's been big, and I know we didn't cash it, so it's not reflected in that record there, but I've talked about golf one time so far this year since the PGA Tour came back. Of course, that was a couple weeks ago for the Sony Open. I think I bet 6 guys outright. I gave out 3 on the show. Of course, I don't give out Dick Taylor, a guy I bet at 110-1 who ended up winning. I did give out Sepp Straka, however. We didn't talk about it last week going into the American Express, but I was back on Mr. Straka last week, and that was the most sweat-free golf winner you'll ever have. 75-1 for me at the American Express. I know this is probably nauseating, like past posting, talking about bets I didn't share here, cashing, but I don't have any reason to lie. If you really don't believe me, hit me up, email me or something. I'll send you the bet slips to show it. Speaking of that, I think this is a good time to talk about golf, which really, to be honest, has been my bread and butter as a handicapper. Of course, football is what everyone kind of knows me for or reads my stuff on LasVegasSun.com. But as far as building my own personal bankroll heights that I never really frankly saw coming, I think golf has been the biggest thing. So I'll try to share golf thoughts when I can. And I think it's a good time this week because, of course, only 2 NFL games. We'll get to both of them. I do have feelings on both side and total in both games. But we are going into the final round of the Farmers Insurance Open out at Torrey Pines right after the show, I believe, today. So it sets up well. I've kind of been on the mid-range to the long shots to start the year. As you know, some of those ones I just shared. This week it was kind of the opposite for me. I ended up going to the very top of the board. I bet Ludwig Aubert at 9-1 to win the tournament. He was 10-1 going into it, and then so many big names pulled out with it looking like the Genesis will be moved here lately. I think that he should have been moved to more than 9-1. Now, I know I already said the earlier part had to be annoying to hear me talking about what great value I had. In this one, I'm recording after round 1 where Oberg went out and put up a 9-under, 2-stroke lead after 1 round. But again, I'm not just saying this to make myself look good. I really think there is still value here for a couple of reasons. One, I think one slight market inefficiency you see sometimes in the golf market these days is people want a longer shot, especially going into the final round now. Those starting strokes that guys will have in the lead going into the first round, I don't think a lot of times are accurately priced, so it's hard for me to say. There's been 2 more rounds. I don't know where Oberg's sitting now, but if he is still in contention, I love him at this course. I think he has a good shot to win today, so if he's holding a small lead or a short lead, don't be necessarily just put off if it's like a slight minus price or a small plus price. I think having that lead is big. I would like him today, but most importantly, we have been building a Masters portfolio here on this segment. Last year we cast Scotty Scheffler at 10-1. I think I gave him out like January 2024. He ended up winning the Masters, of course. This year we've given out Justin Thomas at 40-1, Rory McIlroy, I believe, at 14-1. I love both of those, but I did add Aubert as well Wednesday, watching his opening round and how low he went. I bet him at 15-1. I don't necessarily love that one as much as the other 2, but I just think this is the last we're going to see it. If he goes on and wins the Farmers Insurance today, which I'm hoping he will, I think his numbers are going to crash. This kid has all the talent in the world, has the most beautiful swing you'll ever see. Really captured a lot of eyes at the Masters last year when he almost chased down the leaders, ended up top 5. So 15-1 Oberg. Lock it in before he wins this tournament. That is our 3rd Masters bet. Let's get to the NFL games, of course, starting with the NFC Championship. Now, I said on a couple shows, and hopefully you're watching our show on K4 Wins, along with Kip and Tony and Kai Gregory. I said last week the dream would be if the Commanders could somehow beat the Lions outright. I had no futures exposure on the Lions, and the reason, though, it would really be a dream is because I was dying to bet against them against either team they would play today, whether that would be the Rams or the Eagles. Now, there was a little bit hitch in that, and Jalen Hurts getting injured, and he hasn't looked great recently, but I still think this is a terrible matchup for Washington. I thought last week Washington's offense matched up great with Detroit's beaten up defense, their problems in the secondary with Jaden Daniels' mobility and his precision. I don't think that affects the Eagles as much. We've seen it in the 2 games against them. The Commanders barely won the second one with Kenny Pickett at quarterback. Kind of got beat up in the second half of the first one. I just don't see this Washington offense working quite the way it has so far against an NFC East rival. I laid 5 with Philadelphia at open. I know now it's up to 6.5. I would pump the brakes at 7, but anything less than that, I do expect Philadelphia to punch the ticket to their 2nd Super Bowl in 3 years today. And I also kind of like the under in the game. That's one I would still bet. I actually bet under in both games, the AFC and the NFC Championship game. The NFC is the one that I think is still in range. I think at 47.5. I bet 48.5. I'd bet it all the way to probably 46.5. The AFC one's gone a little bit too low for me, and I could kind of see this being a shootout the more I've jumped into it. So I would not caution that total anymore, but I gotta say, if I'm picking a side, I'm gonna be the idiot that gets beat up again. But I like Buffalo here. You look at these matchups between Buffalo and Kansas City. Buffalo's been the better team in the last 8 matchups. I know they haven't gotten over the hump in the playoffs. I think Baltimore would have been a slam dunk. Unfortunately, that didn't end up happening. But Buffalo plus 2.5, there's some of those out right now. I think this is a pick-em game. The Chiefs were not impressive last week, barely being able to move the ball against Houston, had a real shot at losing that game. I think this is the year Buffalo breaks through. We'll have to see what I think about the Super Bowl matchup, but give me Buffalo, give me Philadelphia, and give me that Oberg Masters bet. That'll do it for this week's Vegas Heaters.
Time to get to our best bets. 2 NFL games, the Commanders and the Eagles, and of course Josh Allen taking on that Patrick Mahomes, that big stinking crybaby. That Commanders game is so amazing to me because they're still not getting any respect.
Nope.
I know they won 4 games last year. Jay Daniels is playing out of his mind. They were a 9.5-point dog last week. They win this thing outright. They're catching, 7.5, 8 points again. That over-under 47. By the way, last week, 55, the second highest total we've had in NFL playoff history. It was almost over at halftime.
Yep.
So there's going to be lots of points scored there. I'm wondering why that line's only 47. And again, we might have to take a look at a little weather here action. But right now, it'd be crazy not to take those Commanders plus the 7 points. But I'm going Josh Allen. I took him last week against the Ravens. I think if you just have the Bills win a football game, you look at the teams they lost to, they're all playoff teams with the exception of the New England. I think Josh Allen, this is his year. I think he gets it done.
Legend, who you liking in the playoff games?
I'm riding with Tony T. I get to ride with Tony T so often because he's a genius when it comes to these picks, ladies and gentlemen. But I like Buffalo today because I'm tired of seeing that, what's her name?
Taylor
the
Swift.
bubblegum girl, bubblegum rock girl. I'm tired of seeing Taylor Swift. And now they got Caitlin Clark up there saying, it's going to be all right. I can't take it. I can't take it.
That was uncomfortable.
That was uncomfortable. I can't take it. I like Buffalo and I like Philadelphia, but I'm with T. I like Washington in the points, but I think Philly wins with a late field goal.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page. I can't get past the fact that Buffalo's come so close, had such frustration. Probably the most bizarre end to a game I've ever remembered. Remember that Buffalo-Kansas City game? Buffalo had them beat. 13 seconds Kansas City had the ball. Somehow they got in field goal range with no timeouts in 13 seconds. Butker makes about a 60-yarder. Next thing you know, Kansas City drives down and breaks Buffalo's heart again. But this time, I think it's finally time. Buffalo got over the hurdle, beat the Ravens, who I think maybe are the best team in the NFL, and they knocked them off. I like the Bills to finally slay the dragon and get back to the Super Bowl, where we haven't seen them since the Jim Kelly days, all the way back when they lost 5 Super Bowls in a row. Maybe it's finally time for Buffalo, New York. The other game, my heart's still with Washington, having grown up there originally as a Redskin fan, now the Commanders. Love what Jaden Daniels is doing. But this Eagles team, I think they're kind of loaded on both sides of the ball. Saquon Barkley's the difference maker.
Yeah.
I think Philadelphia wins the game, but don't be surprised if the Commanders cover that number. I think Legend might be right on target. Might be a 3-point game, but I think Buffalo and Philly will be in New Orleans in 2 weeks. Maybe the snow will be gone by then.
Super Bowl 59 with Phil. I like that matchup. That sounds really, really good.
Yeah, the Bills and the Eagles.
I love it. The Eagles. It's going to be a fantastic matchup. All right, we're going to get it done. We'll talk more about the Super Bowl, of course, coming up next weekend on Saturday mornings between 10:30 and 11 o'clock. And, of course, college hoops. We got NBA. We got some horse racing coming up here shortly.
The Triple Crown's starting to heat up, and I'm really excited about that. We'll always have some winners for you there. Legend, looks like the Tide's got the ship righted now with 2 big wins in a row, and they get to host LSU today.
Yeah, I look for a big win. I look for a blowout. Take Alabama, give up the points. Also like Auburn to take care of Tennessee today.
I do. I think Auburn wins at home. And Tony, what do you think?
I agree with you. This is the starting lineup.
Step back into the groove and then into the Birmingham Racecourse Casino.
Check this out. It's all happening here.
The Birmingham Racecourse Casino is the local place to win.
Good times right here.
Let the Birmingham Racecourse Casino bring the good times to you. The Birmingham Racecourse Casino, where the good times roll.
Where you could be a winner too. Yeah, boy.